Okay. Order. Sir Mark Henry to move the motion.
I beg to move that this House has considered the matter of UK relations with Germany. It is a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Mr Twigg. I've requested that this debate takes place as the German Bundestag tomorrow will have the first reading of the Kensington Treaty. This is an important step in the rebuilding of our relationship. This relationship with Germany after the post-Brexit negativity from the previous government has been the cause of that. The relationship has a long and difficult history, but in times of increased international pressure, it is now more important than ever. And in that regard, Mr Twigg, it is a pleasure to welcome the German Ambassador, Susanna Baumann, and Anna Finger-Harris and the team to this debate. My personal connections with Germany date back to a childhood pen friend from Essen, who I began writing to over 50 years ago, and we're still in touch. Later, when I was in my 20s, I went to Germany to train as an electrical engineer with AEG Telefunken, working in the Frankfurt area. Like many others, I took advantage of the opportunity to live and work in Germany, which is not currently available to young people today because of the folly of Brexit. This is something that continues to this day, as there are currently around 6,780 people from Germany studying in the UK at the moment, and 2,074 Brits currently studying in Germany. However, they are students, they're not workers with freedom of movement totally, so it is a different scenario nowadays. All across the United Kingdom, there are twinning agreements between German and British towns and cities. Not least my own constituency, which is paired with the town of Recklinghausen in Nordrhein Westfalen in Germany, a partnership that will celebrate its 70th anniversary this year. Naturally, relationships of this sort have their ups and downs. In recent history, obviously Brexit stands out. This decision and the way it was conducted severely damaged people-to-people trust. It has weakened long-standing partnerships in private, public and economic affairs, and it has made cross-border trade much more difficult, particularly trade conducted by small and medium enterprises. It will, in my view, take a long time to mend the damage caused by Brexit. It is also a reminder that trust, once lost, is slow and difficult to rebuild. Across British society, there is a wish for a closer relationship with the EU and Germany, of course. Recent polling shows that close to 60% of Britons believe it was a mistake to leave the European Union, with a majority of voters saying they want to rejoin the EU. Despite increased travel restrictions, more than 70 million trips were made by Britons to Europe, close to 1 million of which were made to Germany. In Parliament, the work of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Germany brings together politicians and stakeholders from both countries. To effectively do this, we work closely with our counterpart in the German Bundestag, the German-British Friendship Group. This allows us to bring politicians from both countries together to discuss shared priorities and projects and organising parallel debates such as this one today. And in this regard, I look forward to the UK parliamentary delegation's visit to Germany, which is planned for May of this year. This momentum towards a closer Europe, which is felt among Britons and in Parliament, is also driven forward by this Labour government. From the first day in office, we have worked on rebuilding our relationship with our European partners, be it through rejoining the Erasmus Plus scheme, which gives young people across the UK and the EU the opportunity to study and train on the other side of the Channel, or through a range of bilateral and multilateral agreements this government has signed, which lay out the roadmaps to further collaboration. For example, with the signing of the Trinity House Agreement in October 2024, which represents the most significant deepening of bilateral defence ties with Germany in decades. It signifies our commitment to European defence and especially working in close accord with Germany. Strengthening joint defence capabilities through a range of measures, such as committing to collaboration on big defence projects, for example, in the area of aerospace. This was underlined by the first state visit of a German president in 27 years last December. President Steinmeier visited following the signature of the Kensington Treaty. The treaty defines 6 main areas of cooperation, all of paramount importance. And in the speech, I want to focus on defence and economic cooperation, as in the light of international instability, these seem to be the areas most pressing for this relationship. Last week's Munich Security Conference showed the strength and commitment to a shared European defence, as the Prime Minister outlined in his keynote speech. In a crisis like this, we have to stand together, and we are doing this through agreements like the Trinity House Agreement and the Kensington Treaty.
On that point, Frank Goodway, I think Frank Goodway is making a very powerful speech. One of the most important areas for UK-German security cooperation is tackling the full range of threats that Russia exposes us to as Europeans. And it's very clear from discussions with German colleagues and others that we need a better doctrine on this, including sharing information, attributing the attacks that are happening across Europe on a weekly basis and deterring this through a coordinated response. Does he agree that we can work on this bilaterally through the triad with France and use the lessons we learn to improve our partnerships working across Europe as a whole?
Sir Mark Henrik.
I would totally concur with my honourable friend, who has himself had a distinguished military career in the RAF. As a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent horrors, there is a growing awareness in the UK that we need to be able to defend ourselves, and that it is not enough to contract out our security out to the United States. This means there is no British security without Europe and no European security without Britain. Partnership with Europe, but specifically with Germany, is delivering on this growing awareness. Through the coalition of the willing, Germany, Great Britain and France have a wish to drive forward the defence of Ukraine, and yesterday we commemorated the 4th year since the start of the war. Utilising the Diamond Initiative, the UK and Germany, along with other NATO allies, are bolstering NATO's eastern flank and are building an alliance ready to defend itself. Our shared values and the ideas defining this relationship aren't universal. The knowledge that these might need to be defended by force has driven this paradigm shift. In Germany, we have a partner in whom we can rely on come what may, which is why the Kensington Treaty is so important. It sets in stone how indispensable this relationship is and how we can further develop cooperation between our two countries. On the subject of economic cooperation, which is the other important aspect of this relationship, is our trading and economic partnership. Germany is the UK's second largest trading partner, closely following the United States. Trade to Germany accounts for 8.1% of total British trade. And after the low of Brexit, bilateral trade is improving, with a 1.4% increase in trade last year. The German Chamber of Commerce, German Chamber of Industry and Commerce has over 1,600 German member companies operating in the UK, including industry giants such as BMW, Bosch, Deutsche Bank. And in fact, around 160 of my constituents work with the German company Krempel, which is located very close to my constituency. German companies bring £50 billion of FDI into the UK, while British companies have invested over 48 billion in Germany last year alone. This important relationship can be seen in much of our day-to-day life. For instance, The 94 new state-of-the-art Piccadilly line trains are produced by Siemens Mobility in East Yorkshire. This is a great example of our partnership in action, combining German engineering with British craftsmanship. These numbers convey a larger picture: the flow of products and ideas, the connection between small family-run businesses in both countries, cooperation of industry employing tens of thousands, a synergy which is not only mutually beneficial but actively combines the greatest parts of our two countries. In conclusion, Mr. Twigg, the Kensington Treaty is more than a diplomatic document. It is a recognition of what we already know, that Britain and Germany are bound together by history, by values, by commerce, and a shared vision of a stable and prosperous Europe. From the twinning of our towns to the trains on our underground, from our students crossing the Channel, our soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder, this relationship is alive in the daily fabric of both of our nations. Brexit was a serious setback, and we should not pretend otherwise, but it did not sever the ties that matter most, and this government is doing hard to rebuild what was damaged. Thank you.
The question is that this House considered UK-German relations. Annalise Dodd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Twigg. It's such a pleasure to speak in this debate, both with yourself and the Chair, and also, of course, after the bringing of this debate by my honourable friend for Preston. I'm very grateful indeed to him and others who supported this debate. As he says, of course, it's taking place during a very important week, the ratification in the Bundestag of the Kensington Treaty, and I would associate myself with many of his remarks, particularly those relating to town twinning, Mr. Twigg, because the link between my city of Oxford and Bonn has been incredibly strong. It's gone from strength to strength. It's involved local politicians, including myself, and we have enduring friendships, including across party lines, I have to say, between our two countries. But it's also included young football players from the council estate that I call my home, Rose Hill. They very much enjoyed in Bonn the football, the friendship, and also, I have to say, the Haribo factory visit as well. I do want to underline, if I may, 3 areas where I think the collaboration between our two countries is particularly important given current circumstances. First, I would underline what my honourable friend stated about industrial linkages. In my own constituency, we see just how important these are. My honourable friend mentioned BMW. Of course, it runs the Cowley mini plant. That's a source of immense pride for my local community. Good quality jobs with a huge supply chain that is then associated with those direct jobs. It's an incredibly productive plant, and it really is important that we reduce wherever possible barriers to joint working between our two countries when it comes to the kind of amazing advanced manufacturing that's taking place in Cowley. I'm encouraged by the fact that we've had UK ministers, I'm sure, speaking with, indeed, their German counterparts about the Made in Europe plans of the Commission. I hope that we can get further on that, because it really is important that the understandable desire from the European Union to ensure that there is economic security will not lead to a reduction in trade between the UK and EU. Indeed, we need to increase that trade, and I've been encouraged by what I've heard in that regard, including when it comes to automotive and making sure that the UK is not cut out of those processes. I would really urge the government to press ahead on all of this, and also with the other measures that it is announced in relation to, for example, energy costs, very important for a lot of the manufacturing that goes on in places like BMW Cowley. Secondly, I wanted to underline some points germane to those made by my gallant friend for Leighton and Wanstead, when he talks about the fact that of course, both of our countries are experiencing exactly the same kinds of hybrid threats currently. This week of all weeks, 4 years after Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, we're seeing similar patterns of foreign interference, including sabotage and online disinformation, often sponsored by Russia. We are, of course, right now seeing the elections bill progressing through the UK Parliament, also Philip Rycroft's review of foreign interference. I think it will be really important in this regard that there is collaboration between our two countries so that we can learn together. I'm aware, for example, of what happened in the run-up to the German election, and this is not a partisan point because I understand that some of the sabotage was actually directed at trying to discredit the Green Party there. There's also been, it appears, potentially attacks on some critical infrastructure with attribution being unclear, as it so often is in these cases, as I understand it. But I think as we are in these difficult waters, we need to see collaboration between democracies like the UK and Germany on these matters. And Article 17 of the Kensington Treaty, I think, is especially relevant here, that the parties should cooperate on strategies for strengthening the resilience of their democracies, to build resilient societies able to contribute to their country's security and to withstand the increasing attempts at interference and manipulation. I also welcome the fact that it talked about within the treaty deepening cooperation against all forms of hate crime, which again, disturbingly, we're seeing in both of our nations. And finally, I just wanted to underline the welcome mention in the 11th Lighthouse project under the Kensington Treaty on working together on conflict prevention, committing both of our countries to strengthen joint work on the women, peace and security agenda. That will obviously require engagement right across our governments, not just in our foreign ministries, where I know there are very strong relationships, but also in our ministries of defence as well. And it would be helpful to understand more about what has been done in that regard. I thoroughly hope that the strong relationship between the UK and Germany can only become stronger in the years to come. And again, it's such a pleasure to speak in this debate. Thank you.
Just for the help of... Mr Belly, are you standing as well? Or? No, OK. Just to help, if you could keep your speeches to around about 5-ish minutes, because I'm going to call the front bench no later than 10 past. Jim Shannon.
Again, Mr Chairman, a real pleasure to serve under your chairship. I think it's the third time today. Can I thank the honourable member for pressing, for setting the scene incredibly well. I'm really pleased to see the Minister in his place. I think the Minister, if I could use this, has been a very busy boy today in the chamber and in here. But it's always a pleasure, genuinely, always a pleasure to see the Minister in his place. So thank him for that. Germany is a high-value market for Northern Ireland, with bilateral trade generating over some 1.1 billion in 2023. And with this being the case, the Northern Ireland Economy Minister regularly and frequently visits Berlin to promote sectors like cybersecurity, fintech, AI and advanced manufacturing, all sectors that Northern Ireland excels in. As our biggest EU trading partnership, relations are imperative to our local economy. So when the Minister goes back, he probably knows this already, but the importance of building upon that is really something for us. I got to know Germany personally through my time as a part-time soldier in the Royal Artillery, and it gave me an opportunity every second year to go to Germany to meet its people. Always was impressed by the people, always friendly. They were always amenable, and Germany was incredibly clean. And it was back in the time of the Iron Curtain, so that now will age me. But other people will say the Iron Curtain. Some people here may say, well, what was that? But that was the Germany that I knew and got to love. Indeed, BSNI, which is an Northern Ireland executive branch, has maintained a presence in Germany for over 25 years to facilitate trade. Recent successes include Belfast-based Julien securing a £4 million AI contract with German energy firm Sonnext. The links are clearly there, but equally clear is the fact that more can and should be achieved through these links. I feel that Northern Ireland, I'm going to promote it heavily, Mr Chairman, you expect me to do that, is the investor's dream, with low business costs and rates, greater connectivity, a highly skilled workforce and a great work ethic. A little wonder that so many US firms are beginning to establish their firms here in Northern Ireland. It's my feeling that our relationship with Germany can provide greater benefits to both the Germans and to ourselves. The July 2025 UK-Germany Treaty on Friendship and Bilateral Cooperation provides, I believe, a new framework for deeper partnership, and particularly with defence and aerospace. As many members will be aware, Northern Ireland's aerospace and defence industry, employing some 9,000 people, can benefit from the treaty's emphasis on long-term industrial and security cooperation. And that is something that we can build on, and we can increase that, because the threat in the world is high, and it's necessary that we do that. Machinery and transport equipment is the largest export category, valuing at some approximately £252.9 million in 2024, which includes power-generating machinery and specialised industrial equipment. The contacts and the connection between Northern Ireland and Germany are strong, and they can be stronger. Our highly skilled precision-focused engineers are able to deliver more, and it is essential, I believe, that we keep on top of cutting-edge technology and training for staff. The Minister will well highlighted the Northern Ireland Economy Minister is aware of the need to enhance the German relationship. However, much can and must be done in this place, right here at Westminster, and the foundation of which needs to be funding for apprenticeships. That's my ask of the Minister, that the funding for apprenticeships to keep Northern Ireland's reputation for highly skilled workers going, growing and strong. I conclude with this. In conclusion, I thank the member for the opportunity to speak on the need for a mutually beneficial relationship with Germany, one that we can all benefit for, and I agree with that. But foundationally, we need to ensure that we have the skills and the ability to attract the investment. I look forward very much to greater apprenticeship investment to help us realise this potential. For us in Northern Ireland, our young people have the future, they have the opportunity, and I think the Minister is the very person to deliver that. Thank you.
Strengthening ties between the UK and Germany for most of my adult life, ever since I spent 2 years living in West Berlin in the mid-1980s, vor der Wende, before the wall came down, in Kreuzberg. It was a neighbourhood that was surrounded at that time on 3 sides by the wall. And it was an exhilarating, sometimes surreal experience. It's a vibrant city, but also a Cold War frontline, and never far from the wall, never far from the watchtowers beyond. And I remember having dinner at a neighbour's flat on the evening of a 1st of May street party that had turned into a riot of car burning and looting, sparked by a boycott of the national census. And when we saw the sky suddenly light up, we thought at first that the riots had set a local supermarket ablaze. Then we realised it was East Berlin, and they were celebrating May Day with fireworks, completely oblivious to what was happening just a couple of kilometres away. Very different times. And there's another memory I have of the time, which may seem a little bit odd, but perhaps not for an English political geek whose country lacks a written constitution, and that was discovering Germany's proud basic law, the Grundgesetz, and learning about the role that Britain had played in bringing that into being. So Germany is deep in my heart, as it is in the hearts of so many of my fellow citizens. I have the pleasure of representing the constituency of Chelsea and Fulham is part of the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, which has long been twinned with the city of Neukölln. I was very impressed when we visited Neukölln to see that they actually had the Hammersmith and Fulham crest in concrete in the front of their town hall, which shows a level of respect and seriousness towards local government that we can perhaps learn from. And yet, despite our strong relationship with Germany, we allowed something so precious to be damaged. After Brexit, the UK dropped from Germany's 3rd most important trading partner to 9th, and German school exchanges to the UK fell by more than 80%. So our relationship didn't break, but it was badly strained. And I think we have to be honest about that, and honest about the pain that we caused, not just to ourselves, but to the German side of our friendship as well. So that's why I'm so moved, really, by the enormous strides we are now making to restore and deepen our partnership with practical steps, as my colleagues have set out, practical steps that will benefit all of our citizens. And, Chair, we are living in disturbing times. I think all of us recognise that today, perhaps more than any other day after the 4 years of the Ukraine war. The United States is retreating from Europe. Russia is a growing threat. The hard right is gaining ground. It's driving division across our continent. So I'm glad that Britain and Germany have chosen to respond by moving closer together, not just in words, but in deeds. So we have, as has been mentioned, the Trinity House Agreement signed in October 2024, laying the foundation of establishing defence cooperation as a central pillar of our relationship. And under it, we have extraordinary things, such as British and German forces now operating together from Scotland to counter Russian submarines, flying jointly in maritime patrol aircraft. We have plans for a joint purchase of advanced torpedoes and growing real-time intelligence sharing. And we're also, very importantly, ramping up cyber security efforts to counter Russia's hybrid warfare.
On that point, would my honourable friend Figenway, I thank my honourable friend Figenway. He's making a very passionate and heartfelt speech about his relationship with Germany. But in the cold world of national cyber security, one important area for collaboration is indeed cybersecurity, perhaps AI, quantum and other areas. And it's something the European democracies should have a shared approach towards, because these have typically been owned by our American allies. Does he agree that the UK and Germany need to work together to shape offensive cyber operations, encouraging fresh thinking about middle powers and how we seek to counter the Russian threat?
Yeah. Thank you very much. And not for the first time, my honourable friend puts it much better than I could myself. But cyber security is an absolutely key pillar of the Trinity House Agreement, and AI and quantum and semiconductor investment should be something that we work on, Germany and Britain together, side by side, in defending our joint security and also contributing to the security of our common European home. And alongside we had the Kensington Treaty, of course, and then we had last July the good news of, we had the Trinity House Agreement, forgive me, and then last July we had the good news of the Kensington Treaty, signed by Chancellor Merz and Prime Minister Starmer, ratified, as we've heard, in the Bundestag this week, a great moment. The landmark document, not just about defence, but foreign policy and the economy and innovation, energy and agriculture and education and science, and including 17 concrete priority projects, not words again, but deeds, and setting out to reinvigorate my honourable and gallant friend, the member for Leighton and Wanstead mentioned the E3, the trilateral grouping of France alongside Britain and Germany, and the treaty also sets out to reinvigorate that grouping. And beyond defence, we're committed to, I'm very glad to note, developing offshore energy connections, and anyone who looks and enjoys travelling to Germany, as I do, will be delighted by the news that we're trying to build a direct rail connection between London and Germany in the next 10 years, which is terrific. And of course, we have the wider context, which has been referred to, the UK government determined from its first day to reset the Brexit-damaged relationship with the European Union and making real progress in doing so. And in our doing that, Germany has been absolutely central to that progress. But the warmth of our friendship goes deeper than any treaty, as President Steinmeier showed when he visited us last December, making the first, as has been noted, the first state visit to Britain by a German head of state in nearly 3 decades. And his visit to the ruins of Coventry Cathedral, I think, was a gesture of reconciliation that moved many of us deeply. And I had the privilege of telling him personally how much his supportive words meant to us. And I can't finish without noting that the spirit of partnership is embodied here in London by Ambassador Susanna Baumann and her team, who I'm delighted are here with us today. She has thrown herself into her role with tremendous energy and commitment and building, I think we'd all agree, relationships so speedily, new relationships across our public life with warmth and intelligence and genuine dedication. I think our country is proud that we can count her as a friend. So, Chair, look what we've achieved together in just 1 year. Imagine what more we could do together. The task ahead is clear, if I may say, Vorsprung durch Freundschaft, to work as friends with ambition and pace to protect and strengthen our 2 great countries, our proud democracies, and our common European home.
Thank you, Mr. Twigg. It's a pleasure to see you in the chair today. And can I also congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Preston, for securing this important and timely debate today. And it's really good to have the Foreign Minister here covering another part of the world for a change, as I'm sure he will appreciate today. Look, Britain and Germany share one of Europe's most significant bilateral relationships. It's grounded in common democratic values, strong economic ties, and a shared commitment to European and indeed global security. And that bilateral relationship continues to deepen, not only through NATO, and I know You, Mr Twigg, are very much at the forefront of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly on behalf of our country, and I know you'll be working with your German counterparts in that regard. But also through other matters, through trade, through research collaboration, climate policy, and people-to-people connections. Millions travel, study or work between our two countries every year. My own personal relationship with Germany began some 30-something years ago with a school exchange, and I still see that exchange partner, now my friend, every year in London or in Hamburg. And Hamburg is a city that has a strong history of Anglo-German relationships, whether it's through trade, navy, and more latterly the Beatles. But we're now in a much more uncertain time, as other members have already alluded to. In dangerous times, we need to come together more than ever. And Germany and Britain have been doing that. But we need to commit that in words so that we can carry out those deeds that we've talked about today. The Kensington Treaty is the most comprehensive of its kind between our two countries since the Second World War. And I'm very proud that both the Prime Minister and Chancellor Merz came to my constituency, Stevenage, later the day on which they signed the treaty to visit Airbus Defence and Space UK headquarters. And they did that for a good reason. Because at the heart of that treaty, one of its many priorities is that defence cooperation. And they could see that in Stevenage itself, where they saw the SATCOM BW military satellite communication system, which is being built for the German armed forces. And this highlights how Germany is choosing this country to deliver world-leading geo-satellite capability, demonstrating trust in our specialist strengths in space technology. And of course,
On the point of defence, would be
very happy to give way.
Thank the honourable friend for giving way. One of the high points of UK-German industrial relations was the Eurofighter Typhoon. And so it's with great sadness that a young aircraft spotter who enjoyed seeing Panavia developing something special like Eurofighter is observing FCAS and GCAP growing apart. Rather than reflecting on this as the failure, could this not be an opportunity for collaboration using a shared platform and shared wingman success?
Thank you. I hear my honourable friend, and he makes a very salient argument there. And we've seen how some of our European neighbours, Germany and France, perhaps collaborate in a different way, whether that will work out or not. Look, I hope that the Minister will speak to his friends in the MOD and the wider government to open that offer of cooperation in more projects, such as that really, really successful Eurofighter Typhoon project. And that is a powerful example of our industrial collaboration. I mean, Airbus itself, as the largest shareholder, 46% in the Eurofighter consortium, with its manufacturing in Germany as well, is only one piece of a much wider UK-German industrial ecosystem that spans aerospace, defence, energy, engineering, pharmaceuticals. I could go on. But we must look to the future as well. And there are substantial opportunities in both space and air defence, where British and German cooperation can meet shared capability needs and strengthen both our countries' resilience. And that is what we need more than ever, as other members have alluded to, the threats that we face from Russia, China and beyond. But more broadly, the Kensington Treaty, being ratified at this time, gives us a clear framework to go further, from supply chain resilience to joint R&D, from green technology to defence innovation, and from cyber security to energy cooperation. And although I haven't talked about it today, this brings people together. And that's the most important bilateral relationship any two countries can have. So for constituencies like mine and Stevenage across this country, these partnerships bring investment, skilled jobs, and long-term industrial certainty, while contributing meaningfully to European security and global stability. My honourable friend, a member for Chelsea and Fulham, stole the words I was going to use as well. And Because I thought of it when I was thinking about Vorsprung durch Technik and those adverts we saw as kids. And it really is. It is Vorsprung durch Freundschaft und Partnerschaft. Thank you.
Matt's for me.
Thank you, Mr Twigg, and it is a pleasure to speak under your chairmanship. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend for securing this really important debate, the MP for Preston. And so I just want to make a few comments about the relations between Watford and Mainz in Germany. There was a twinning relationship between our town and Mainz for many years, which had a very successful history, parties moving from the UK over to visit in Germany and vice versa, to have all the benefits of that kind of cultural and political exchange. Sadly, that relationship died when the local authority abandoned the twinning relationship some years ago, which is obviously a great tragedy. But not content with that situation, some dedicated people within my local Labour Party and some dedicated people within our sister party, the SPD in Mainz, fostered relations and started the exchange and visits taking place between our two towns again. And that has led to great effect. We've received delegations from the SPD in Mainz many times now, and we've exchanged culture and experience. So we've taken them to the football, we've taken them to the capital, we've explained to them in great detail the history of the brewing industry and history in Watford, which has been convivially enjoyed, I might add. And of course, there have been reciprocal visits where we have visited Mainz, and that has been absolutely incredible. Great to learn about the history of that city and what's happened over, for example, the bombing it experienced in the Second World War and the rebuilding and the incredible job that has been done to rebuild it as it looks before. We are, in fact, lucky enough to have a representative from there over in the public gallery today, so welcome, Soren. Great to see you there. And I have a personal experience of having particularly enjoyed a trip on a tractor-drawn cart through a vineyard, enjoying just a little bit of the wares that were created from that particular farm, if my memory serves me correctly, which it probably doesn't. At Christmas time, we had the pleasure of being able to host the MP for Mainz, Daniel Baldi from the Bundestag, who was over here, and we were able to show him how Parliament works and give him a tour, which was an extremely beneficial thing to do. Why do we do this? Well, the benefits of doing this are really clear. Lots of speakers have mentioned trade, industry, scientific benefits that have derived from it. But there are human benefits as well. So empathy, understanding, friendship, and lessons learned. Lessons learned not just through industry and economy, but of course in terms of education and how we can improve our educational system, and indeed in politics, and learning lessons from how we campaign politically, how we govern differently, and that hopefully can bring benefits to all of us. So I certainly hope to make a return visit in the near future, and thank you very much, Chair, for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, the two opposition spokespersons have about 5 minutes each, so Al Pickinson.
Thank you, Mr Twigg, and as ever it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship today, and I'm grateful to the Honourable Member for Preston for bringing this really important and timely debate today. The Liberal Democrats believe in stronger, safer and more prosperous, that we are stronger, safer and more prosperous when we build serious long-term partnerships with our European allies and colleagues. And UK-German relations are very much a litmus test of our wider relationship with Europe. Now, in an age of instability, we do face, as we've heard already today, an unpredictable US administration. We've seen rising interference from the likes of China and continued Russian aggression. And in that environment, defence and economic security become even more inseparable than they already were. And that is why a closer, more pragmatic, more productive and more cooperative relationship with Germany is strategically imperative to us all. Now, Germany is Europe's largest economy and one of the EU's most influential states. Trade between the UK and Germany accounts for about 8.5% of trade, and supports nearly 500,000 jobs. And I'm very lucky in my Surrey Heath constituency to have multiple German companies headquartered or offshoots of German companies located in Surrey Heath, including hosting the UK headquarters of Stihl, the German manufacturer of chainsaws. And my wife represents one of the nearly 500,000 jobs located in the UK, working as she does for BMW in the neighbouring constituency of North East Hampshire. That's not intended to be a declaration of interest, merely a statement of fact and note, and we're very grateful to BMW for the electric Mini that I am lucky enough to occasionally be allowed to drive. Now, signed in July 2025, the Kensington Treaty, as we have already heard, established a comprehensive framework for the UK-German cooperation across defence, trade, climate, education and science. And that undoubtedly is the right direction of travel. A treaty, however, is only as meaningful as its delivery. So let me first turn, if I may, to the issue of defence. At the Munich Security Conference, the Prime Minister called for deeper economic and security cooperation between the UK and the EU, and for a stronger expression of European hard power. Now, at a time of heightened geopolitical tension, strengthening cooperation with Europe is firmly in Britain's national interest. Nobody can doubt that. Securing full participation in the EU's SAFE Fund would undoubtedly support the UK defence manufacturers and strengthen collective rearmament. Our partnership with Germany should support Ukraine's recovery and deepen collaboration through the Trinity House Agreement, joint exercises, industrial coordination and capability development. Now, if Britain wants influence over Europe's defence architecture, it must be present where capability priorities are shaped. Now, on the subject of the economy, in 2015, the UK was Germany's 5th largest trading partner. By 2022, we had fallen, very sadly, to 11th, reflecting the growing trade frictions between our two economies. In 2025, the Financial Times reported that German car manufacturer BMW paused its 600 million investment in electric vehicles in Oxford. When advanced manufacturing decisions are finely balanced, as they so often are, added trade friction and regulatory divergence makes the United Kingdom a less certain destination for investment. The British Chamber of Commerce in Germany echoed these sentiments by warning that post-Brexit paperwork and border delays are pushing UK firms away from their largest export markets, with some customers turning to EU-based suppliers instead. Now, if we are serious about restoring competitiveness, we must build trust, but we also must reduce those trade barriers. A bespoke EU-UK customs union might just stand the chance of easing some of those rules of origin burdens, lower border costs, and provide manufacturers with the certainty that they need. And then finally, on cultural exchange, a topic that has frequently emerged in today's debate so far, the Kensington Treaty recognised that relationships are built not only by governments, but by young people and by communities. Now, the Honourable Member for Oxford East mentioned the subject of town twinning, and not wanting to be left out of the excitement, I'm very pleased to say that my Surrey Heath constituency is twinned with Bietigheim-Bissingen in Germany, and our main popular shopping street is also named Bietigheim Way, in reference to the historic connections between our two parts of the world. A UK-Germany Youth Summit and cross-border volunteering partnerships are absolutely critical, but again, so many of these programmes are vital for building long-term trust between our communities. And so in conclusion, I just want to make a couple of final points. 3/4 of 18 to 24-year-olds voted to remain in the European Union in 2016, yet they are bearing many of the mobility costs that Brexit has imposed on them. They've lost the freedom to study and work easily across Europe, including participation in Erasmus. So we fundamentally welcome the UK rejoining the Erasmus scheme as a step towards rebuilding educational cooperation with Germany and across the rest of the EU. We're also calling for negotiations on a reciprocal EU youth mobility scheme with an age limit of 35, no visa fees, and visas extended to 3 years to further and deepen that cooperation. Just very finally, thanks again to the Honourable Member for Preston and to other Honourable Members for, I think, invoking the spirit of the UK-German relationship so effectively. We believe fundamentally that a closer relationship with Germany will strengthen our defence, support our economy and deepen cultural exchange.
Shadow Minister Andrew Stoughton.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to serve with you in the chair, Mr Twigg, and may I first begin by congratulating my honourable friend and constituency neighbour, the member for Preston, for securing this important debate. If we're going down the line of declaring interest of key products that we own, I too am a loyal customer of BMW and own one now. Although I do realise we are probably inadvertently now going to get some quite nasty emails off all the Buy British campaigners after we declare our love for German cars. I'd also pick up on the contributions the member for Oxford East made, particularly around town twinning, and I just want to assure her that it is okay to have Tory friends occasionally. If the Labour Party T-shirts are to be believed, you're just not allowed to kiss us, that's all. And on the comments that were made by people across the debate, is obviously that clear love for Germany, the relationships that people have built up, the places that they enjoy visiting, is really came across. I note I am clearly heavily outnumbered as a proud Brexiteer in the room, although I am very grateful that the member for Strangford, who's now legged it, who's usually my Brexiteer bodyguard in these Westminster Hall debates. So maybe we'll just save that one for a litre or two of Vice beer sometime and discuss it over that. Few bilateral relationships matter more than Britain's security and prosperity and global standing than our partnership with Germany. It is a year of particular significance, as has already been noted, but also marking 80 years since Britain founded North Rhine-Westphalia, today Germany's most populous state, after the Second World War. My right honourable friend, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, was pleased to meet with North Rhine-Westphalia's International Affairs Minister in Munich earlier this month, along with the German Foreign Minister. Chair, we Conservatives recognise that a confident Britain needs a confident, outward-looking Germany as a partner, and that a strong Germany and a strong Britain can be an anchor of stability at a time of global volatility. From a party political perspective, we are naturally also very pleased to see our sister party, the CDU and CSU, return to government. And just last week, my right honourable friend, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, attended the Munich Security Conference, where she met with German counterparts from our sister party to reaffirm the depth of the UK-German relationship and our shared determination to strengthen European and transatlantic security. Germany is now markedly stepping up its role on European and global security. The new federal government has put significant resource behind defence and support for Ukraine. Germany's 2026 budget includes a commitment to provide in excess of 11 billion euros in support to Ukraine, which is extremely welcome and will make a material difference on the ground. Politically, Berlin has also taken steps to alter long-standing fiscal constraints so it can fund that rearmament. The medium-term fiscal plan and recent constitutional adjustments reflect a willingness to unlock resources for defence in a way not seen for decades. The way Germany is funding its defence rise is, of course, specific to their fiscal situation and the way they manage their economy and spending, which is different to the UK. But it does raise some simple but urgent questions for our own government as part of that relationship. If one of our closest allies can set a date and credible trajectory for higher defence spending, why has the UK not done the same? Germany has been explicit about its political timetable for increasing defence spending. By contrast, here at home, we are still waiting for the Defence Investment Plan, which the government told us was due last autumn and which has now been repeatedly delayed. I have a great defence manufacturing capability in BAE Systems in my constituency filed and would like to see much more defence industrial collaboration across the board with Germany made possible by the Defence Investment Plan. With NATO allies, industry leaders and even senior military figures, noting the strategic importance of clear spending pathways. Can the Minister finally say when this defence investment plan will be published and how it will ensure we meet our NATO ambitions? The Conservatives in government laid the foundations for the deepening of UK-German cooperation, particularly on defence. The 2024 Defence Declaration, the Trinity House arrangements on defence industrial cooperation and long-range precision missiles are of significance. Will the government publish a clear timetable for delivering against these commitments and the commitments set out in the 2025 Kensington Treaty? What progress has been made to date and what should we expect to see in the coming weeks and months? Chair, Britain and Germany can together anchor European security in an unpredictable world. The opposition wants that partnership to flourish. We will support steps that deepen it, but we will also insist the British government matches its own rhetoric with credible resource plans. Only then will a strong Germany and a strong UK translate ambition into the hard capabilities required.
Just remind Minister as well, Mr. and the Minister, so at the end for Sir Mark to wind up. Minister.
Mr. Twigg, it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I'm grateful to my honourable friend, the member for Preston, for securing the debate and for the contribution of other honourable friends, gallant friends and honourable members. I'm also very grateful to see the Ambassador for Germany in the audience and so many friends from Germany who have come to see this debate. I might reflect briefly. I am not, as it happens, the Minister for Germany. The Minister for Europe is on his feet in the chamber at the moment and would have been only too glad to attend this debate. It gives me an opportunity, I'm very glad to say, to reflect, as so many others have, with great warmth on my own personal and constituency relationship with Germany. I would reflect as someone who's done a fair bit of Parliament over the course of the day. This is a very, very warm debate which reflects the warmth with which Germany is held right across the chamber, regardless of political party. I know the proceedings of this House are not always easily understandable to our foreign friends, but I hope all those watching in Germany can see the deep affection with which they are held here. They are held in that affection by me personally. I, at university, lived all the way through with a young man called Johannes from Frankfurt. I'm incredibly proud to represent a city which has had a deep twinning relationship, which is home both to Siemens Energy and Siemens Mobility. If Siemens is watching, Siemens Mobility are very welcome to keep the full extent of their investments in Lincoln. They employ over 1,200 people locally. They have invested around £100 million in sites across Lincoln since 2010. Lincoln's experience is so obviously matched by so many other constituencies across the country. My city, as so many places in the UK, have really benefited from shared British-German industrial expertise, deep partnership. And as a constituency MP for a city which considers itself the home for the Royal Air Force, I want to also agree very much with my gallant friend's comments about the depth of industrial partnership we've had on a range of questions, not least, of course, aviation, and the Royal Air Force has very much enjoyed its deep partnership, particularly on Eurofighter and Typhoons. I won't recap in great detail the very important points that my colleagues have made. It is unusual as a minister to have such, to be reminded so often by the many contributions that your government has already made on these questions. And I agree with, unusually with the Shadow Minister that we did build on foundations of deep friendship from the government before. The Kensington Treaty is a landmark treaty in an unpredictable time for world politics. The British-German partnership is ever more important. It is key to advancing our shared values and our shared interests. We were so pleased to take relations to a new level with the Kensington Treaty, signed last July, and we consider it a modern and ambitious framework for the decades ahead. It touches on the things that matter to both countries, keeping people safe, growing our economies, managing migration, backing education and clean energy, and building the links between our communities. I would tell you a little bit more about Lincoln's twinning arrangements, but I suspect that the enthusiasm for twinning arrangements has been well heard. I would also like to touch on the science and technology partnership elements. I am so pleased that we have enabled visa-free school trips, and I hear from members right across the House the value that they have taken both in their own visits and the visits that we continue to enjoy. There's, of course, very important expansion of our work in the North Sea, the strengthened defence ties, which we have touched on in this debate, and a direct rail link would be very, very much desired, and I'm very pleased that planning has begun. These are practical, tangible steps that show the real-world impact of this partnership. We will continue to build on these foundations. The state visit in December was a hugely important and welcome moment, and I'm grateful to hear so many honourable members touch on the significance of that moment for them and their constituencies. The situation in Europe today, particularly facing war in Ukraine, which is being debated in the other chamber as we speak, just underlines the importance of this partnership. Growing Russian aggression, new nuclear risks, cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, and coercive pressure on our allies. These are questions that face the UK and Germany equally. We were very pleased that my right honourable friends, the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary, were able to lead the UK delegation to the Munich Security Conference last week and met their German counterparts to discuss these issues and stand united in our efforts to tackle them. We are committed, together with Germany and, of course, France, to supporting Ukraine as driving forces behind the coalition of the willing. We will provide military, economic, diplomatic and humanitarian assistance for as long as is necessary. We have worked together to impose sweeping sanctions, ban Russian oil, cut Moscow off from key technologies, and coordinated the most comprehensive package of economic and punitive measures Russia has ever faced. There is much more to be done, but we will do it together. The Trinity House Agreement, already referenced in this debate, signed by Defence Minister, increases our defence and security cooperation with Germany. Chancellor Merz confirmed recently that Germany is on a path to building the strongest army in Europe. Our partnership means the UK plays a central role in equipping Germany's military, supporting European security and British businesses. And I'm very pleased that, thanks to Trinity House, the German company Rheinmetall is already investing in a new artillery gun barrel factory, which will create 400 jobs in Telford. There's much else I could touch on, Chair, across the full range of contributions that have been made. I hope all those watching overseas will see the depth of partnership right across all of the key agendas that face this government, as well as our partners in Germany. I want to return briefly in the minute I have to the Shadow Minister's questions about the Defence Investment Plan. It is a priority. It will strengthen our security and grow the economy, and Defence Ministers will be returning to Parliament in due course. In conclusion, in this era of instability, we must look to our friends. The United Kingdom and Germany will continue to work together to tackle the global challenges we face. We will keep building on the Kensington Treaty and strengthening the bonds between our countries and our people, because this is a partnership that keeps us safe and delivers for our friends and people on both sides. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir Mark Henry to wind up.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Twigg, and can I thank all of the colleagues who are in the chamber who've shown such warmth and affection for our relationship with Germany. If I think back, it's 10 years since the referendum on Brexit, and the discussion that was taking place in this country at the time was, I think, very, very damaging to Britain, certainly very, very damaging to our economy, and I think our relationship with Europe more generally, not just the EU, but more generally, is improving step by step. The government, I think, has done an excellent job in promoting that relationship, and it just seems nice to have so many colleagues around us speaking positively about our relationship with not just Germany, but Europe more generally. And I just wish that we hadn't had that experience 10 years ago, because we could all sit here and look at building on what was an excellent relationship then that shouldn't have been stopped, rather than having to try and pick that up again 10 years later. So thank you, Mr Twigg, for chairing this debate today, and all my colleagues and the Ambassador and her team for attending this debate today. Thank you.
The question is, this House has considered UK-German relations. As many of that opinion say aye, of the contrary no, I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Order, order, the sitting stands adjourned.